going on? What's happening? Long time no see. This is Deontay Carroll, host of Turn Up the Volume podcast, and I'm back with another edition. Something I'm doing a little different. If you know me, I'm out of the box. I try not to box myself or pigeonhole myself in anytime I go live with something. And so normally I stick to theological stuff, church stuff when I do my podcast. But every now and then I want to do something different, and this is one of those episodes or one of those kind of broadcasts. And so, if you know anything about me, I am a huge Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fan. I got my kid at heart. Some things in my childhood I still like and enjoy. And they had a new Netflix special recently that was released on April the 18th, 19th, I believe, and it was called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and For All, Once and Always. I don't know if y'all seen it on Netflix, Once and Always. It was a 30-year kind of reunion, and so today, nonetheless, I'm going to be doing my own review of what I thought of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. Just a few things that kind of stood out to me that I thought was interesting. Some things I had questions about. Some things that made me go, And at the very end, I'm going to rate what I thought the Netflix special was. Shout out to a couple of people. Well, shout out to, all of the OG original cast who stuck around for it, or who came back for it. And also shout out to just any and everybody who kind of keeps the show going. And so I'm gonna try not to be on here long and be long winded, but here we go. All right, here we go. Here we go. So, like I said, we're doing a review of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. And I can say I was excited to see it. I was happy to see it. When I saw the special, I did feel nostalgic to see some superheroes who, of course, got older. They're in their 50s now for the most part. And so it was cool to see them. And so one of the things that I thought was interesting about the show was the storyline. They had to tell a story that wouldn't be too cheesy to the fans that have been sticking with it for 30 some years. So if you know, back in the early 90s, some things about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when you look at it now in your adult life, it was cheesy, right? The love story, the acting, this and that, and how certain characters would respond to certain things. But this was, the show back then was like more so PG with the violence and things. But one of the things that stuck out to me was the violence, right? Or the level of violence, or the impact of the violence. So back in the day, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when they would get hit, when they were not morphed in their costumes, they didn't draw blood or bruises during the martial arts. But now, one of the things we saw in one of the opening scenes, and I just want to say this is a spoiler alert, so I'm going to be talking about certain things. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend you go to Netflix and see it before you come here to watch this review, because I'm going to be talking about certain scenes and certain things that happen in the Netflix special. But nonetheless, one of the things that I thought was very interesting was the fact that Billy, in the opening scene, Billy, he had some bruises on his lip. Like there was some known bruises. And I'm like, yo, that's different than what we saw. I thought that was cool because shout out to those who wrote the story and the producers and the directors for making the decision to allow the Power Rangers to have bruises and when they get in the fights and things like that. And I say, yo, they're really maturing the show with us. because now we were 5 and 2 years old back then in '93. Some of us, depending on how old we were, now we're adults. So I appreciated how they matured the fighting scenes, and they matured how now we get to see the Power Rangers actually having bruises and marks and bumps and cuts and things like that. And so I thought that was pretty cool to see that, and the opening fighting scene with Billy fighting, I think, who was he fighting? Rita Repulsa, the martial arts and all that kind of thing. I thought it was pretty cool just to see him with the bumps and nicks and bruises and things of that nature. Another thing that kind of brought some nostalgia to me was just to see some of the old crew saying this morphin' time. And this one you see Steve Cardenas, who plays Rocky, David Yost, who plays Billy, and Catherine Sutherland, who plays Cat, of course. They pull out the morphers in this morphin' time. It was something. It maybe took a little bit. I said, man, these cats are older. They're a little older, but they still got it. They can still pull it off. And I thought that was pretty cool to see that. Like I said, it was nostalgic. It was pretty cool. Um, it did something to me. It brought the inner child in me to see them come back and to do this all over again. One of the next things I thought was interesting that um, that we got to see in this Netflix special is, like I said earlier, we got to see the bumps, the marks, the bruises, and things like that on the Power Rangers when they were and they were fighting the putties or what have you. But they've really matured the storyline. Like when I say they've really matured the storyline, they have really matured the storyline. And so one of the things that they also deal with in this Netflix special that they never dealt with in the TV series was death. And what do I mean by that? Yes, we all know that Twee Train, who played the Yellow Ranger, in real life she died from a car crash in like the early 2000s, way before social media became a thing. Um, and so it was interesting that they wrote in some way her death into the Netflix special. And so, of course, what do I mean by that? They killed the character off. And so, one of the opening scenes, or the storyline rather, of the Netflix special is wrapped around Trini being killed by Rita. And we actually see her being killed by Rita in this Netflix special. And so, this is the first time, to my recollection, that well, at least the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they dealt with death. Somebody actually dying from fighting the evil monsters in the Power Rangers series. And I thought, like I said, yet again, this is a maturing of the storyline because, like I said, the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fans were not kids no more, so you kind of have to tell a storyline that's in such a way where the audience who's no longer kids now, we can actually stomach it and kind of like sit through it. Because it would be something if you make a Netflix special with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and it's still 100% cheesy. The storyline's still cheesy, and so we're dealing with real life stuff, death, and and seeing the marks and the bumps and bruises. I think this was a good shout out, or this was a good homage to Toy Train, who was the original Yellow Ranger. Like I said, we see her picture. The storyline is written around her, and that leads me to the next thing. Twee Train, or Trini, she has a daughter, right? This is her daughter. I can't. She her daughter in the Netflix special. Her name is Min. And so the storyline goes that Min, her mom is killed by Rita, and she overhears Zach and Billy talking about how they're going to tell Trini's daughter Min about what happened to her mother, how she died, and she overhears it, and now they have to tell her that they were Power Rangers, and then the storyline goes on that Min wants to avenge Rita's death, wants to avenge her mother's death. She wants revenge, right? And so she wants to bring harm and lay the smackdown on Rita Repulsa. And she's, you see scenes of her training, doing martial arts, and a lot of that anger. And so not only do we see death, but we see grief in this, which I think is very interesting and very appropriate, because we all go through moments of grief. And so I think that was very appropriate in how they approached that story or approached that issue. You see a daughter who's out for blood, and she wants to, and she eventually tries and makes the effort a couple of times to morph with her mother's morpher. It's unsuccessful, but and she has bouts where she has anger against Billy because she feels like Billy is responsible for her mother's death, or I guess bringing them all back together, that kind of thing. And so, Men, I think, I don't know the young lady's name who played Men. I think she did very well, and she pulled off the role of being Trini's daughter very well. Shout out to the young lady who played Men. It's very interesting. I wonder if they're actually going to do a spin-off, in any shape or form. I think I heard, shout out to a fellow YouTuber who I've been following for a minute. His name is Henry Resilient. Um, and I think he mentioned on one of his shows, I think he was the one that mentioned it, that the storyline for Once and Always was supposed to be about the Tommy character, and we'll get into that later. But because he was not, unfortunately, in this special, the producers and the writers had to kind of change the storyline, and so they made it about Trini and her death and her daughter trying to avenge. And so I'm wondering, and I think he also said, or it might have been somebody else that I heard. I'm trying to remember. I can't really remember right now, but um, if this particular special does well, supposedly, I'm not too sure how true this is, then there's supposed to be more episodes or more specials that kind of follow this. And so they just have to see. I think right now it's number 3 on Netflix. I don't. That last time I checked last night on the 20th of April. So I don't know how well it's doing now, but we'll see. Uh, like I said, they deal with death, right? And so one of the scenes I thought was very interesting. They're in the graveyard a year later to, I guess, kind of lay flowers at Trini's grave or what have you. And then Rita and her goons, they come and to the gravesite to ambush the Power Rangers. And one of the things, I don't know if y'all saw this or if y'all caught this when y'all saw the Netflix special when they were in the graveyard and one of the monsters um, smashed the headstone that said Harvey Garvey. Let me see if y'all can see this. If y'all paid attention to this, did y'all see the part where the one of the monsters he smashed a tombstone that said Harvey Garvey? When I saw that, I thought it was interesting. Harvey Garvey, 1953 to 2022. Who is Harvey Garvey? Y'all ready for this? I don't know if y'all remember who Harvey Garvey. Y'all remember who Harvey Garvey was in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series? Because Harvey Garvey was a character in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Harvey Garvey was, there you go. That's who Harvey Garvey was. Remember that episode? I think it was in season 2, Lights, Camera, Action, and the Power Rangers went on television, morphed up, and they had to fight the camera monster. I think within that particular episode, and the host of the show was Harvey Garvey, and they were going on the Harvey Garvey show. They killed off Harvey Garvey. I think the original actor who played him is still alive, but nonetheless, yet again, they killed off another person. So not only did they kill off Trini, but they killed off Harvey Garvey. And then we see this monster smashing the tombstone that belonged to the grave of Harvey Garvey. So I laughed when I saw that. I said, "Man, they going in with the killing of the characters in this Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series." I said, "Who they gonna kill next?" I was just I just was tickled pink. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. It was different. I mean, they were really stepping out of the box and doing some different things in this Netflix special, and this was one of the things where they were doing that. What else do we have? This, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to move this out the way so y'all can see me at the same time. But this, it was just good to see. Excuse me, y'all. It's early in the morning, and I was supposed to do this last night, so I'm waking up fresh out of my bed just to do this. because I really wanted to do this. Excuse me, y'all. So anyway, it was just good to see the Rangers morphed in their suits. Of course, they look older. They aging. Billy and Zach. I think they're in their late 40s, maybe early 50s, maybe. Uh, and these older Rangers who are very seasoned morphed up in the suits again. It was pretty cool to see that. But one thing I did notice, y'all see Zach's finger. Zach never had a middle finger on his, what is it? His left hand. And in the TV show, when he was morphed or anytime he had a suit on, I believe from my recollection, he always had a replacement finger, you know, in his middle finger. In this Netflix special, we see that they made a special glove for him with his finger missing, which I thought was cool. And it showed realness, imperfection. We're not perfect. Our bodies, God made us however God made us, right? And so to see that and to not cover it up, I thought it was pretty cool because it speaks to, hey, you might not be like everybody else, or your body might not be shaped like everybody else, but appreciate it, And so that spoke volumes to me as an adult to say, hey, love on your body, appreciate your body. So what, you might be missing the finger. So what, you might not have this or you might not have that, but it just is what it is. And so I was glad to see that. Um, I don't know if he felt comfortable. I'm pretty sure he probably did. He might have thought it was cool. I thought it was cool at least. Like, hey, it just is what it is. The guy doesn't have a finger, and now versus back in the day, they show that. It just shows the humanity, or the humanness of something that he might have been teased about for years, that he doesn't have a finger, and it might have been embarrassing when he was younger. I don't know, but hey, it just is what it is. How did y'all think about Rita Repulsa, her 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 body, right? Now I will say, or robot Rita, I think that's what she was called. Uh, robot Rita. Robot Rita, she had the robot face. Let's see if I can pull it up here. All right, there we go. I might have to edit this out or edit it together. Robot Rita. I thought this was the most interesting thing. Supposedly, I think Robot Rita, she had what was it? Uh, Something happened to her body, maybe in one of the newer Power Ranger series, which her body was destroyed, and so she was able to take something from Zordon, I think it was, or take advantage of a vulnerable moment Zordon had, and she was able to recreate her body in a robot such a way. I thought this was pretty interesting. It kind of modernized Rita for a minute. It would have been good, however, to see the original Rita Repulsa reprise her role, to see her face. Since they're bringing everybody back, I thought this would have been that would have may have been a better way. So I wasn't too much of a big fan of a robot Rita. It just kind of looked like you put a robot or something fake here. So I would have loved, even though we get the voice. I don't know if this was the original person who did the voiceover for Rita, but we got that old fashioned raspy, I guess, voice that looked like she's been golfing down metal all day. That sounds like she's been golfing down metal all day. But nonetheless, in my opinion, I would have loved to see the older character who played Rita Repulsa instead of a robot Rita. Let's see what else. Yo, so one of the things I thought was cool was the command center. It was so modernized. It looks like now, rather than sitting on a hill like it would back in the day, it's on a beach. Y'all see that to the right? The command center is on the beach, and the command center has updates to it. It has some renovations, y'all. Like, I thought it was cool. Look at that outside. You see that, and I think Billy is responsible for it. I think Billy is a part. What was Billy? No, I think they said Zach was a congressman at one point, but Billy was a part of this Cranston Technologies, and so he might have been responsible for updating the command center. And I think the command center where the Power Rangers would go in to see Zordon and Alpha, that was in like a basement, I think, of Cranston Technologies, and a lot of people didn't know that. And so even when we look on the inside, the command center looked more. It looked different. You see something happen to Zordon. You see the crack in his time warp there. You see the command center looks totally different. So definitely some updates. So I appreciated that it was more modernized. You know, of course, 30 years later, it looks different. I ain't mad at that. Now, y'all remember? I don't know if y'all know this, but the command center, the original command center, that's the actual building that they took, and when they would put the show together, they would, I guess, edit out the background. But the command center, the original command center that was used, the filming location for that is in Simi Valley, California, and the actual building is called the House of Book. I think it belongs to an American Jewish university, and so this is a Jewish this actual building. The exterior of the command center that we've known for 30 some years is an actual facility that belongs to the American Jewish University in Simi Valley, California. You can actually look it up. I don't know the address. I can't give it to you. I might put it down in the comments later on. But this is an actual building, y'all. This is an actual building. You can look it up, and this is what the actual command center looks like without all of the edits to make it look like it sits in a desert somewhere on the Power Rangers series. So y'all can look that up. So I appreciate. One day I'm gonna make it to Simi Valley, California, just so I can do a video on the filming location there. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. What else? Oh, the juice bar. The juice bar had was a staple in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. We know that, and so it was cool to see the juice bar in the Netflix special. Of course, they're fighting the putties there, and you see Zach, and you see Min, you see Billy. I don't think you see Catherine in the juice bar, but you know it's good for the juice bar to come back and to be kind of like a character in the Netflix special. Of course, we know Ernie, who owned the juice bar. Ernie has passed away since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. There's only one. I think they could have did more of a homage or a head nod to Ernie, because Ernie was also a character in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the series, and this was his juice bar. The only mention we have of Ernie is, I think, in the very end of the special, where Zach says, he mentions that, oh, I'm gonna go to the bar to see if they still got Ernie's recipe. That's the only time we hear Ernie. I think they could have mentioned him more or had a picture of him. I mean, they were dealing with death anyway with Trini and with Harvey Garvey. They could at least had a picture and said, had a moment where they just said, "Man, I sure miss this guy," or something to kind of show homage to him or respect to him. But I mean, hey, now here's an interesting thing. I want to talk about this. Um, for those who don't know, my favorite character in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was none other than the late great Jason David Frank. I was a huge Jason David Frank fan. Who didn't want to be the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, in this series? And so, like I said earlier, shout out to Henry Resilient, because he shared some insight before this special came out that originally, supposedly, the storyline was supposed to be about Tommy, and I'm trying to remember the details of it. Or uh, bottom line, the storyline was supposed to be around Tommy, um, but JDF, Jason David Frank, he did not reprise his role, and he was not a part of the special, right? I think it was because, from what I understand, if memory serves me correctly, based off of what Henry Resilient was talking about, um, he wanted people to have equal pay, and he believed that you can't have a 30-year reunion without all of the original cast members there. But you got to keep in mind, in this part of JDF's life, he had been going to Comic Cons for so many years, and you know, being that superhero of Tommy. Don't forget, let's keep in mind, he was in the process of filming The Legend of the White Dragon, and I think there was, oh, that's what it was. I think they were trying to take the storyline or portions of it, supposedly, of his project that he was working on, The Legend of the White Dragon, and they were trying to incorporate it or take it, um, and that became a whole thing. And so he kind of distanced himself and said, "No, I'm not going to do it." But if there's other facts to this, y'all put it in the comments. If there's other facts that I'm leaving out or I got something wrong, I'm not ashamed if I may have got something wrong to apologize or get it straight. Um, but the bottom line, I believe, from my understanding, JDF was in a different season and a different time in his life, and he was kind of done with Tommy, and he was taking on, trying to immerse himself in the Eric Reed character that he was about to be playing in Legend of White Dragon. I think the pay was an issue too for the original actors, and so he did not reprise his role. Now, here's an interesting thing: JDF does not own Tommy, the likeness of Tommy. So Hasbro and or whoever produces Power Rangers, they can use Tommy's likeness as much as they want to because they own that, right? And so in the Netflix special, we all know Tommy, or JDF rather, was not in it. However, the Green Ranger, Tommy. And so you can tell in the storyline, while we never see JDF in here, we hear his voice. We hear, and I believe it's old voiceover clips of him saying it's morphin' time, like little phrases that they would say, "Come on, guys, it's morphin' time." And the Kia, yeah, you know how Tommy would Kia when he was fighting. I believe they used old voiceover clips while his character, and so we, like I said, we never see JDF, the person, or the person Tommy, morphed or outside of the morphed costume, because JDF didn't come back to reprise his role. Kimberly didn't come back to reprise her role, but we hear the old voiceover clips while they're fighting, right? And so for me, how did I feel about that? In my opinion, this is just me. You can feel how you want to feel. There's no Power Rangers without JDF, because it's like JDF, even after Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was no longer being filmed, he carried the series, right? He carried the show. He was one of the OGs going to Comic Cons and connected with fans, and so he was always like the face of Power Rangers. And so let's keep in mind that this was filmed before JDF passed, and so to know that information, it just sucks. Like, man, I just wish he could have reprised his role, because it just would have been 10 times better. Because everybody loves JDF for the most part. If you're a JDF fan, you love JDF. And so while I appreciated that we saw a Green Ranger fighting, and I hear the Green Ranger's voice, I just know for a fact that JDF was not a part of this. And so the only time we see Tommy is when he's morphed, fighting for the few scenes that he's fighting. And the storyline, Rita captures him, Jason. We don't see Austin St. John. Austin St. John did not come back to reprise his role in this either. And so we see Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly being the Rangers that were taken by Rita, and we see them as little dolls in the show. And so it just sucked. I'm like, man. And so now Zach and Billy are kind of more so back and forth, not bickering amongst themselves or anything like that, but they're more so like the leaders. Zach was more so the leader in this special, and so I think the question was, can anybody else carry Power Rangers or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers while Tommy is no longer here? And so, like I said, man, it sucked to not see this wonderful human being reprise his role. But it just is what it is. We have the memories. Rest in peace, Jason David Frank, man, the best to ever do it. Um, it just sucked. One of the other interesting things I thought that was on the special um, is now we know that David Yost, he's an openly gay man, right? And he had some issues back in the day of being teased, I believed, or mistreated because of his sexuality. And so one of the things we also see in this Netflix special is the representation of the LGBTQ plus community. One of the scenes is men. I guess she's fighting or chase. I forgot what she chasing down a monster. I forgot what the scene was, but the putties was surrounding this black guy, and he's like, "Help, help! They got my boyfriend." And when I heard that, I was like, kind of, I had like a side eye. I was like, "Where is this coming from?" But that was my initial knee jerk reaction. There, disclaimer: listen, outside of this, y'all know I'm a preacher. I have my own stance about it, my own beliefs. I'm not here to talk about that or discuss that. However, I believe for David Yost, it might have been refreshing that the many years he's been mistreated because of his sexuality on the show. I felt like he might have appreciated the LGBTQ plus community being represented in the series. If you remember the Power Rangers reboot that happened a couple of years ago, they were kind of playing around with the character of the Yellow Ranger, Trini, possibly being gay, or possibly, there were some questions about her sexuality. And a couple of years later, they do this Netflix special. We actually have a same gender loving couple. And then men ends up saving the guy who's the partner or significant other of this guy who's same gender loving. They don't kiss, but they hug each other. They show affection, and so initially I was like, "Wow!" I said, "Okay." And I wonder. I said, "Well, why did they do that?" But you got to think about it. Regardless of your stance on the LGBTQ plus community, the reality is um, same gender love, or it's more prevalent and it's more common now than it was back in 1993. And so I guess for them, representation matters. Who knows? This might have been like that kind of head nod or homage of respect to David Yost. I don't know. I'm just speculating. This is a review. I'm just giving my opinion. Regardless of your stance on it, to see this in it, I just was like, well, I guess it is what it is. You know, am I a big fan of them putting that in there? No, to be honest. But I mean, it's there for representation or what have you. Take it how you want it. I'm gonna go to sleep at night. I'm not. Y'all can be mad at me in the comments. It just is what it is. But it is what it is. So with all of that being said, Deontay, how do you rate the Power Rangers once and for all? Well, out of a 10, I give it an 8. I give it an 8. And so out of 100%, I say it's 80%. Why do you say it's 80%? Well, I guess a big chunk of that 10% is the fact that Tommy's not in there. You know, and I say that because it's not like JDF had passed while they were making this or before they were making this. I think this was filmed and put together before he passed. And so, if anything, JDF has been carrying Power Rangers up until the day he passed, really, whether he wanted to or not. He was like the face of Power Rangers. When you think of Power Rangers, you think of Tommy, you think of Jason David Frank. And I don't know they if the producers or the writers or whoever was responsible, or Hasbro, whoever was responsible for putting this together, y'all should have done whatever you had to do to make sure Tommy came back and reprised his role. Especially if this was, unbeknownst to us, if this was going to be the last opportunity to get him to reprise his role before his passing. It just sucks to know that this was filmed and he was alive and he was not a part of it. It's not like this is Power Rangers Wild Force or any other kind of newer. This is the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The cast is back, and we see Aisha, we see Steve Cardenas, we see Johnny Young Bosch. They all look older, yes, but they made their appearance in their cameos, whatever you want to call them, and it was just good to see them, and to not have JDF Tommy. We hear the voiceovers from back in the day that they're using, but you don't see him reprising his role in some way, shape, or form. That's that. It's like I was trying to watch the storyline. It's like, yeah, I see they got the Green Ranger, but I know he's not in there, and that is not. No, you don't do that, And so that was the biggest thing for me. That just was like but and that took it away. What's another reason why I give it 8 out of 10? I guess I think it just all has to do around JDF not seeing him there in the special, and then just how they involved his character. Like he wasn't a popular ranger. You know, we don't mention him too much, or that's kind of why I give it an 8 out of 10. You know, and so I guess that's just my rating. I could give it a 9 out of 10, but JDF not being there was just a big, big, big blow for me. It just was a big blow. I don't care how you slice that pie. It just was a big blow for me. And so my next question is, what do we think is going to happen next? I think if this does well, they're going to continue it. I think they may continue it if it does well. If it's proven that this is something the fans want to see, then they may continue the storyline out because, you know, for whatever reason, I think this is kind of like a, what do you call it, a pilot series. Oh, one more thing that I forgot: we don't see Zordon in this. Zordon was a big part of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, storyline. We don't see Zordon. Now I thought because Billy was working so hard, I guess for years to bring Zordon back, it looks like in the storyline. I thought at least they would have been able to bring Zordon back at least by the end of the episode. Excuse me, where we could hear Zordon's voice and see Zordon. And so this is why I think there's going to be a continuation to the storyline, because we got to get Zordon back, right? And so that's opportunity for another storyline to pick up the storyline where it left off. So I don't know. That was another thing. So what I see next is if there is a continuation or part two to this or another episode, another Netflix special, I would love to see Zordon in it. I think they're going to bring Zordon back. But here's the bigger question, because since this was released, we know JDF is no longer with us. How do you think they should replace Tommy? I don't know. There's many ways they can do it, right? There's been some talk that JDF's daughter Jenna Frank uh, could be or wants to be or you know she could replace Tommy and be the next Green Ranger and reprise it. I don't know. Maybe they'll write her in the storyline of Tommy having a daughter, and and she could replace her dad. I don't know if they're going to eventually, if this gets another episode or whatever, could it be that they also kill Tommy's character off too, and he has a child, and the child wants to come, whether it's a daughter or a son, I don't know. They could pull it off where they get a son, somebody that looks like him with the long hair, that kind of appease in some way the Power Ranger universe or the Power Ranger fan base. I don't know, but I mean, they have to find a way. This bottom line, how they handled Tommy's role in Power Rangers Once and Always. This cannot happen again if they're going to do a follow up. Like, you have to do this right. He's no longer with us, so you got to kind of deal with that. I guess getting rid of his character or killing his character off, you have to kind of put that in there now if you're going to redo this. and deal with that. It's going to suck as a JDF fan to see that, eventually if they do something else to it. But it just is what it is. So that's my review. I know I had issues with bringing up my picture, so I had to stop and pause this and restart it over again. So I got to go back and kind of edit this stuff together, put the video together. But nonetheless, do me a favor, like, tag, share, and subscribe. If you are not following me on YouTube, then do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Go right now, follow me on YouTube at Deontay Carroll, DONTE, a space, CARROLL, like, tag, share, and subscribe. Also, follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Let's get those likes up, man. Let's put this in the algorithm. If you like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always, listen, do me a favor. Just leave your comments in the comments section. Let's be respectful. This is a one-off kind of special that I'm doing about something that I love that's connected to my childhood. And I thought this was pretty cool to do this. So do me a favor, like, tag, share, and subscribe to this YouTube page. Last time I've done something or anything on my channel, my goal was to get to 500 subscribers, y'all. And guess what? We have accomplished that. We are at 519 subscribers. My next goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers, y'all. And so the last time I checked, where am I at with my subscribers? I thought I had a graph chart here for it, but I'm at we and this is us. We all together in this. We are at 519 subscribers on YouTube. I would love to reach 1,000 subscribers. So if y'all could do me a favor, man, just do me a favor, and there it is. This is where we at. 519 subscribers. Our goal is to get to 1,000, and so we are a little over halfway there. Y'all helped me get to 500 when my goal was 500. So help me get to 1,000. Hit the like button, like, share, subscribe, and then hit the bell and turn on all of your notifications, y'all. And so listen, thank y'all so much for spending time with me today to give my review on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always. And so I like this graphic here. I just love it. It's just cool. It's nostalgic of them running with the flames. So nostalgic and so retro. But anyway, y'all do me a favor. Like, tag, share, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms. And listen, until next time, y'all be good. I'm Deontay Carroll, host of Turn Up the Volume Podcast. I'm glad to be back just to do this special on my review. And we're going to be doing some other things. I'm trying to put some shows together. So y'all stay tuned, subscribe. Look at some of the old content, some of the old stuff I've done. And yeah, that's it. Y'all be good. Holla at your boy.